Can you
Yeah.
start off by saying and spelling your first and last and title?
Yeah, you bet. I'm assuming my audio is okay.
Yep, audio sounds good. Thank you.
Never can tell with these hotel Wi-Fi's. Anyway, all right. My name is Isaac McLennan, ISAAC, last name McLennan, and I am the president of the Portland Firefighters Association.
And Isaac, can you talk a little bit about just sort of what your initial reaction was, is kind of hearing about this news?
Well, I heard about it, and I almost thought I was in disbelief. I just couldn't believe that what I was reading on my phone at the time. And of course, once it was substantiated, it was just my heart just sank. It's an absolute tragedy to learn about this horrific incident. It just absolutely breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for the community and for the firefighters and their families.
As some, and you're a firefighter as well, right?
Yes, that's right. I've been a firefighter for here in Portland and for 23 years.
How common is it to see a situation like this?
It's not common. I mean, obviously, we have to be concerned with the scene that we go on, and always kind of keep an eye out for scene safety. But generally speaking, our safety concerns are on the incident itself. A fire, sharp objects. When we're cutting into cars and people are trapped. Those types of the safety concerns. Of power lines, gas leaks, things like that. Weapons. While this has obviously happened before and now again. We obviously are concerned about, on scene, bystanders that are there watching their behaviors and seeing it. Sometimes people behave erratically, but we do watch out for that. But to be called to an incident and being ambushed like that, that's not common, and it's extremely concerning.
In light of this happening, are there measures that you think fire departments will take in the future? Is this something that might, or is just it's impossible to predict?
Yeah, I don't know. We've always operated for my entire career and for the history of the part of that I'm aware of is when somebody calls for help, we come. We come as fast as we can and we kind of help as we are laser focused on the incident. We obviously have a broad view of things as we approach, but we have a very targeted mission and really in order to do our job well, we have to focus in and, when we're thinking about this incident in terms of a wildfire, we're not thinking about it in any other way than the dangers being the wildfire itself and, the terrain and the wind, the humidity. So those are the things that are going on in those firefighters' minds. And while this incident certainly brings awareness that this can happen, I don't know how you prevent it. And that's pretty scary.
It is a scary prospect. I mean, you guys put your life on the line a lot already as is. To hear something like this, how does it land with you, and how are you guys having these conversations amongst yourselves?
Yeah, I'm actually at a firefighters conference here right now, and we're clearly talking about it a lot. When the incident happened yesterday, and then then as more information comes, we're learning more about the incident, what happened, how it all laid out, and then the days to come, there'll be more, I'm sure, as they do further investigation, and we will absolutely learn. And I suspect there may be additional training, but. One thing's for sure is the very first thing on all of our mind is those firefighters, their families, their brothers and sisters that also work there that had to treat those individuals and take care of them and take care of their families. I mean, we all know this is a dangerous job. We accept that danger, but I think when it happens in this type of situation where a firefighter dies in the line of duty because of an heinous act of violence, it's really it's really hard to digest. It's really hard.
What are the conversations you're having right now sounding like?
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly about, kind of surrounding, we're already, we are a network. Firefighters are a network. Not only do we operate kind of all underneath the umbrella of the International Association of Firefighters, which has a lot of resources that they're already deploying to the area, to the families, to that local fire department and those members that are there. We also, as a region, we will send, resources and help and as much as we possibly can. And these are while there's a quick incident now and the stories, this will carry on for us for years. We will, and we never forget. So these families of the fallen are now our families for the rest of their lives. And that's the way we take care of people in the fire service. And when it comes to dealing with the traumatic aftermath, we've done a lot of research into what best works for firefighters and their families to go through the behavioral health issues that are and will come that are there now and will come in the days ahead. And we've done a good job. We collectively, as a fire service, have really studied this and worked hard at it. So I know that we will send resources, we will send help, we will help the families, we will help those other firefighters that are there and the region, the community that has just lost some of their heroes. You know, it's uh, it's a tragedy, and we will meet it with nothing but care and love and support.
Here locally, you talk about providing resources there, and of course, that's where they're needed the most. But I would imagine that these things also have impact when you hear about them locally. Are there things that you're doing as an association? Are there resources? Are there conversations? Can you talk
Yeah,
a little bit about that?
yeah, immediately, I don't think you're going to see a major change in how we respond, but I would say it's certainly on our minds. And, while we respond into people's homes daily, we respond on, annually, 80 to 90,000 calls for service a year, and many of them are just in people's homes. Unsecured situations where we go and we respond, whether it be a medical need or somebody maybe just need help up. They've fallen and or their house is on fire or their car accident or you name it, right? So and obviously in this situation like wildfire, we certainly have wildfire issues right here in Portland. We have people that are camping in the woods, may or may not have weapons. And so, yeah, it's always on our mind that weapons are around, where people have them, and they could, but generally speaking, we are not the targets of those weapons. We are not on we're not the target of people when when it comes to crimes like this. We're there. Most people see us as first responders willing to come and help them and take care of them and no matter what, no matter who they are, we don't, we don't ask questions. We just go and help. And so, you know, I don't know what the immediate change is going to be, but I know I would say that it's every firefighter is aware of it, and we are always watching for weapons. But in this situation where you're talking about somebody, which what I've heard is a high-powered rifle from a hidden point of view, I don't know what the defense is for that. I mean, even if you're wearing a bulletproof vest, a rifle's not gonna, have any. I mean, a bulletproof vest is gonna have no effect on a rifle round. So, I mean, there's just no preventing it. I don't know how to prevent it, and that we're obviously going to think about that, but I just don't know how you effectively save a community from wildfire. And if we treated every situation like it was a possible situation like this one, wildfires would spread massively. I mean, that's just many people would lose their homes and their lives if we change the way we do our jobs.
Speaking of bulletproof vests, certain agencies do have those available. And can you talk about what situations they might be used in? I mean, obviously here they had no idea, they wouldn't have gone in with that.
Yeah, we actually and Portland Fire has bulletproof vests on every fire engine. There's enough for every person we have 4 firefighters on every fire engine in the city. So whatever, we have 171 firefighters on duty. Everybody has a bulletproof vest. But they only protect from stabbing weapons and small ballistics. And I'm not an expert in this, but there's a certain, rating that they have for the vests we currently operate on. And when we choose to put them on, really, it's at the individual discretion of the responding unit. So we are obviously, if we're responding to an active shooter incident, clearly that would be a situation where we'd want to put on the vests. That seems like an obvious statement. Maybe, there's information in the call from dispatch that would alert us that maybe there's a situation that we should put on our vests. If there's something that's, while police respond with us, and we absolutely in the situation, they were immediately calling for law enforcement, which, we're not trained to deal with, weapons. We're trained to treat wounds, but not trained to, in weapons, or, defense, or any of that. So it's, it's a good idea. There are protocols for fire departments to have vests, but it's really up to the discretion of the responding crew, the on-duty officer, anybody who says, "Hey, look, I'm just thinking we should put these on," or maybe there's a call from command to everybody to do it. So there might be which, command structure in the fire service where all the responding units, shall don their vests before entering the scene and things of that nature. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah,
I would say it's not hard and fast. It's kind of dynamic. And certainly there'll be incidents where we respond where, much like this one, a wildfire would not be an incident where we would put one on. Just wouldn't be on our list of things we should need. We'd need water. We'd need a fire shelter. We need, our tools, our clothing, helmet. Those are what we need, not bulletproof vests. I just don't see that being something we add.
it would be difficult, I would imagine, with all you're already carrying and putting on in a wildfire situation to add that as like a mandatory.
Yeah, you want to be kind of light. It's a wildfire is you moving up to difficult terrain. I mean, look at the terrain that this incident was in. It's steep terrain. You want to be light. You want to have good boots. You want to be able to perspire and let your body do its jobs to keep you cool. And wearing a bulletproof vest would certainly slow you down, make you more tired and exhausted, potentially endangering your own life, if you think about it in that way.
You talked about, some of the practical things that might happen and considering, but uh, with the local response, what mental health resources are being looked at or provided, or is there anything you can recommend? I imagine this lands heavily for a lot of people, even if it's not their territory.
Without a doubt, this is going to be a discussion amongst all fire crews across the nation. Every firefighter right now is watching this incident and reading it and following it. So um, it's it's definitely going to be, something that we all are continuing to watch and learn from and see what we can do differently. But I think that's the main thing is we just want those that community, to uh, go through this healing process. I mean, you can tell this is obviously close community. It feels like it to me. I don't know what resources they have up there for behavioral health services. Certainly, there has, like I said, since like 2017, the International Association of Firefighters has really dug into treating behavioral health issues among firefighters, training our own firefighters to become behavioral health peer support professionals to respond. We will send peer support folks up there. We will send other resources up there. And here in Portland, we have a lot of our members are peer support trainers and themselves. So we have a lot of dedicated people who have invested their passion towards this particular topic. So if an incident happened here in Portland, of course, we would take care of the member, their family, and all of the responders that were part of the incident that had to deal with that because it's a very traumatic situation. And the playbook isn't really written on this one, as you probably can realize. While it has happened, we had an incident recently, several years ago, down in Eugene, something similar, where firefighters were shot at, but they weren't shot and killed. Obviously, that's you know finite and tragic.
I guess kind of what I'm asking too is, you mentioned sending mental health resources and peer support out there, but I would think that an incident like this, kind of raising awareness that these things can happen, is something that could provoke some mental health issues even locally. And is it something that you're making people aware of and reminding them what resources are available here too?
Now, I'm sorry, are you talking about mental health for the public at large?
No, no, for you guys here. I mean,
Okay.
an incident like this, when it's one of your own, I imagine it can trigger some stuff here locally too with your own departments.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, there will be. there will be discussions on this. We probably will do a post-incident review of it, and there will be, there will be a lot of learning once that whole report kind of comes out, and what things can be done to make changes in that, and then also just dealing with the behavioral health components. I think it's an evolving science, and I think right now we have a pretty good grasp on it, but it's constantly learning what works, what doesn't, and constantly, changing it and tooling it to meet the needs of firefighters when they go through an incident like this, not just for the firefighters, that were injured, but the firefighters that help treat their brothers and sisters and their families of those who are injured or killed and the community at large. We have a responsibility to everybody to make sure that we take care of them now and into the future and forever. So, I would say we have a pretty robust public, behavioral health network of folks that are trained to do this work. And I would, while I'm not one of those specifically, those folks have dedicated their time and talent to this, and they will look at this incident after they do their work, and they will kind of review their own work to see if it met the need. And so there's constantly that sort of revolving check to make sure that we're doing everything we can and we're doing, using the best science of what works and what does not.
When it comes to mental health resources for people in local fire departments here in the region, what is available to them if they are feeling some kind of way about, I mean, I imagine everyone's feeling some kind of way about this, but like if somebody needs help
Sure.
here, where do they
Yes,
go
absolutely.
for Portland firefighters?
I think, I would say my own family. I've got two small children and my spouse is very concerned. She is immediately when she learned of it was messaging me, and she thinks about that. So we're individuals are going to be having their own reaction to this, and we do have a very robust system that we've negotiated as a benefit plan from the city of Portland for firefighters that work in the city of Portland. But agencies across Oregon and really in the across the United States have done something similar. It's you know we sometimes go to the state legislature, which we did recently, and passed presumption law basically saying that if you should be diagnosed with some sort of behavioral health issue, and it's presumed that it's because of the work we do as firefighters. And so the burden of proof is really on the employer to say it's not. So that's a really strong thing that our state legislature obviously passed, with a large margin to, say that they believe firefighters should be taken care of if they should be, have behavioral health issues. Now, in this incident, we're not directly involved, but certainly you can, through your medical benefits, what we've negotiated with our employer, or if something worse should happen, like an incident like this happened in Portland, we have a mechanism to take care of firefighters here in Portland. Like I said, most other fire departments have uh, similar, methods.
In terms of the incident that happened in Eugene, can you talk a little bit about that and what we know about that incident? And is pretty different than what happened here, or is it a kind of similar
It
scenario?
was similar. It was similar in that effectively these firefighters were ambushed. So as I recall, it's been a while. I haven't brushed up on the story, but it was not a wildfire. It was a structure fire that was lit intentionally to draw in first responders, and then they were shot at with, I believe it was a shotgun type weapon. So that while they all had holes, every single firefighter that responded on that before, when obviously once the shots started, they radioed to nobody else come in, and they took cover behind their apparatus, to it's a large their fire engines obviously are very large, and so that they make great barriers for shooters. So that's what they did, but they didn't do that without getting holes in their firefighting turnouts, their clothes that we wear for firefighting. And while I believe there were some that were injured, nobody was critically injured. So that's a little bit different in that way, is that the kind of the effectiveness of that weapon was less, but it definitely drew attention to, again, it brings awareness to firefighters when this happens. And while we all are aware that it could happen, it doesn't stop us from doing our job. We're just going to continue to do our job the same way we know how, to help people and rescue people when they're trapped and to do everything we can to save lives and property.
Um, do you know what year the situation in Eugene was?
Man, I want to say it was like 7 years ago, maybe
Okay.
more. I'd have to look that
I,
up.
I can look it up too, no worries. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you want to add that we didn't cover?
No, I thank you, and I appreciate just giving us the opportunity to kind of to just talking to you actually is a little therapeutic, honestly. So I appreciate that. I would just say thank you for keeping firefighters in all of hearts and minds. We really appreciate the support when, we're there for everybody else. When the bell goes off, we respond, and it's times like these that the community responds to firefighters, and we really appreciate that. And it means so much to us to be supported by our communities. And just like that community up there, you can tell that they are deeply connected to their firefighters. And um, that just it warms my heart.
It must be a tough time for spouses and relatives and children too right now. Is there something that you would say to the spouses and relatives and your spouse and relatives as well?
Yeah, I think everybody understands that when you t take a job as a firefighter, it has risks, and that is, an unfortunate part of our jobs. But it doesn't take away from how the fear is when something is much more in front. And national news like this is, where it really puts it right in front of your face, and it can be really, really traumatic. So I just encourage everybody to talk through these incidents and, reassure each other that they're doing everything we can to be safe. We're obviously not taking needless risks. Our jobs are dangerous, but we have safe, we train a lot to be safe as we possibly can, and also aggressively saving lives and property of other people. So it's a it's always a good to kind of check in with each other. And if you need help, if you need it, you should definitely seek to there's a lot of ability for us to get behavioral health treatment, mental health treatment, and everybody should do that if they're feeling like they need it, and they should do it.
All right. Thanks, Isaac. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye bye.